I think we're a couple minutes early, so I'm going to give it a couple minutes and then we'll start. Let me just get my notes here. And how is Mastermind, Sherry? Here's an opportunity for you to give a shameless plug to Angel, and Michael, of course, and Christiane, one of our newest members. She's our second newest member. So.
Morning, everybody.
Welcome. Hi. Mastermind is good, or at least I think it is, but maybe one of our Mastermind members would be game for just giving a quick take on how it's going.
And then I guess that was my cue, was it?
Yeah. Sorry. I got a 3 under the bus there.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I quite look forward to it. It is a great melding, and when you talk about what issues you're having, you don't realize what the root of the problem really is. It's never really what it seems to be on the surface, but you only get that after getting asked multiple questions to kind of peel the layers away, I guess, like an onion, if you will. And, Sherry splits the time between how many of us show up to discuss what we've done, where we're going, and what our takeaways are going to be, our goals for the next one. But I find I get just as much out of listening to other people, because all of a sudden I go, oh yeah, that happens with me too. So I get just as much out of it. So it's a great hour and a half.
Awesome.
And it's only, unfortunately, it's only twice a month, but
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And I think that really speaks to kind of the whole key is, when we're meeting on a regular basis and we're talking just about it, sometimes we talk about specific business strategies, right? Mm-hmm. So last week we were talking about specific approaches to a target audience and how to go about doing that and some of those steps. But then other weeks we're talking about, how we have a tendency to step on our own selves, get in our own way. And, so there's lots of really great stuff that comes out. And it's funny because sometimes, as someone who's facilitating these, you would think that I should be always, following all of these, but sometimes something comes up and I'm like, yeah, I stopped doing that. I should get back to doing that. So Catherine, just this weekend, I kind of went, I need to rethink some things. And of course, my office was upside down because I just moved. So I took my whiteboard and did just the brain dump on my whiteboard and redid it. Now I'm like, well, no wonder I can't keep track. But it helped me reorganize my stuff again. And so even I'm getting stuff out of going, or facilitating. So it's good. And we do have space for a couple more people. And the nice thing is that it's something that you can join. I know sometimes some of the members, it's hard for them to be there all the time. So it's oftentimes, once a month with a few, and then there's others who come diligently. And we always talk about what everybody's taking away at the end, which is really helpful. So you gain a lot of insight, not just from each of the members for themselves, but they're also gaining through that interaction with each other, social emotional learning.
So, and you know what, for members it's $25. You can't beat it. And that's for the 2 sessions that you have in the month, right?
Yeah.
You've ever been to a
and there's no masterminds out there. There's no masterminds out there that are cheaper than that, unless they're free, but
they're not really free.
But then, right. So, but if you're not a member, then it's only $75. So it's still, it's still an amazing deal, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, just go to thisgreatcity.com and you can sign up there. There is a link for that. I know that the payment module is now working on that as well, so you can just pay directly online. So by all means, and just to go around the room real fast. By the way, nice seeing you, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. It was busy. Had a lot of stuff to do, but it was a good weekend. And it's funny you're talking about masterminds, because the reason I'm here today early is because I'm usually in a mastermind every morning. It's a local Dundas one here. And today the lady who hosts it ended up being not well. So I'm here.
Awesome. Well, good. I'm
And
glad-
they are great. They really are a great thing to be a part of.
Okay. Well, you know what we're going to do is I'm just going to start. I want to welcome everybody to Morning Coffee avec moi, Ivan Sutton. And today we're going to do a little bit of networking, but I wanted to introduce, because I know that you know, our views online of these videos that we shoot, we're slowly gaining, and then all of a sudden, you know, December they kind of went through the roof, which is kind of nice. And it wasn't me clicking on it all the time, right? So so therefore, I like the fact that we're getting a broader audience now, and I want that to continue. So we happen to have two city leaders here with us. We have Burlington, of course, well, three if you include me, right? Burlington and Brantford, and of course me being Hamilton. And we have a new member, Christiane Bristow. I'm hoping that Sherry, you know that you just got a member signing up in Brantford, which is Grace Gallery, which is really exciting to have Aiden on board. So he actually joined my one of our calls last week. It was quite. Was it yours, Catherine?
No, you're Thursday afternoon.
Oh, the sales thing.
Yeah.
Sales call. Okay, yeah. So he was on my sales training call on Thursday, which was fantastic. So he had a lot of input too, which was good. I love that. So. So anyway, let's go around the room. If you can just take that 45-second and do your pitch to each person. Adam, good seeing you.
Seeing you too.
I miss you, man.
Yeah, likewise.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too.
Good. Okay, so we're going to start with Catherine, since she's up in my top left.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Davies. As Ivan mentioned, I am the city leader for Burlington, Ontario. A wonderful, picturesque little city. I kind of think of it as the new Niagara on the Lake. It's just that sequential little town right in the big city, if you will. I also am the owner of Life's Emergency Training, which is a first aid, CPR, and AED training. We do on-site and blended learning. We help professionals stay compliant with WSIB.
Excellent. Okay, Sherry, I'm gonna get you next.
Absolutely. So good morning. My name is Sherry Lozier. I am a professional consultant and professional coach. So I really work with teams, leadership, and strategy, and helping businesses build a better business.
And the city leader for Brent. Just throw it.
And city leader for Brantford, of course.
Yes, of course. Christiane, you're up next.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year to those that I'm just meeting on the call today. That's awesome. So my name is Christiane Bristow, and thank you, Ivan, for introducing me to this great city. That's absolutely awesome. I'm thrilled. I'm a licensed Ontario wedding officiant, so my joy, what brings me such great joy is marrying people. And I'm also a professional MC, and now I'm going to start focusing on virtual hosting of events.
It's a
Are you
booming
able
business.
to marry people virtually, like you're virtual, and that's legal?
No, you can't do the wedding is in person. No, the emceeing, it can be virtual now, but no, not the marrying. Unfortunately, need to do the signing of the legalese.
Right. But wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah,
That would be cool if you could.
It's really cool, but of course the business is very quiet these days, and though it should be, because it just is what it is. But so it'll be interesting to see where the industry goes after this.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great conversation about that last
Yeah.
week. That was awesome. Okay, Michael, you're up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Palme, and I help people sleep at night. And I do that by finding out my clients' financial goals and putting together a plan to help them reach them. Some of you guys are calling this winter. It's actually is a new season. Right now, the season's called RSPs. And before February 28th, you really want to make sure you get your contributions in for 2020, because that also gives you some tax savings. So let's get together and talk about your financial future. Mike Palme, Nelson Mellon Associates in beautiful little Dundas, Ontario.
Of Dundas. All right. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to pick on Angel. Angel. Are you there? All right. She might be.
Oh,
There she is.
my apologies. Hello, my name is Angelica. I do procurement and contracts for oil and gas. And I am here to see what Ivan has told me so much about and meet this wonderful group.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, oil and gas because she is in Alberta, right? So there you have it. Okay, Adam, you're up.
Hi there, my name is Adam Kafaji. I am a freelance developer, a freelance web designer and mobile developer, and the head of Adamant Industries. My personal goal is to make the website or app of your dreams a reality, and no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes, we'll get there. After all, my slogan is perfection through iteration for a reason.
Adam, I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That's great. Okay, Maggie, how are you?
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm Maggie Stice. I am a freelance writer. My specialty is travel, although that's been a little bit on the hold side right now. Not entirely, but I can actually write for pretty much any industry. I can do anything from a blog post to a social media post to full articles, something for your website, something for your newsletter. I also do proofreading and editing. But yesterday, working with my friend on her magazine, hopefully going to be launched very soon. Basically, I look at you, I look at your business, and I use my writing to make you stand out. That's
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, if you guys can do me a favor then, go ahead. If you don't mind your information being out there, then go ahead and put it in the chat window so that everybody can kind of grab it. And of course, our new members, people can send you all kinds of nice little cards and say, welcome, give you a big virtual hug, right? So that would be fantastic. Okay. So today I wanted to just talk about a few things and then we'll get to the whole, what our needs are. And, during this past year, we've learned a lot about ourselves. We've learned a lot about our businesses. And actually, just before I go there, I'm going to actually, we'll just wait for Thomas to enter the room and we'll let him do his presentation of who he is. We'll kind of pounce on him. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
Good, yourselves. I hear that I'm being thrown under the bus here a little bit first thing in the morning.
Yeah, but we're gonna pounce on you there.
My own I suppose.
That's right. So, folks, Thomas is from our furthest. He's in Windsor, Ontario. Thomas, can you give us your 45-second pitch, and then we'll jump into the next phase.
Yeah, and since I jumped in late, I'll try and make it even shorter than that. Hi, everyone. I am Thomas Papantonis from MLP Technologies. We are a managed service provider in Windsor, Ontario. Being that we are able to provide a lot of remote services, we can cater to areas outside of the Windsor-Essex County area. We provide products and services in IT, security, and communication. And our goal is to help our customers stay connected and protected, and also provide a IT presence for small businesses that can't necessarily hire full-time IT staff. We can become your IT staff at a fraction of the cost and almost none of the overhead.
Awesome. Okay, good. And again, you can also put your information into the chat window.
Absolutely.
And so folks can grab it. Okay, so over this past year, we've learned a lot of things about ourselves and we've learned a lot of things about business, right? I mean, the COVID-19 crisis and the reaction to it, there are degrees of how different people take things, right? But the impact is real on how how we do business. So based on that, if you're going to look at shaping the next 2 years of your business, and this is kind of a little unfair for everybody else because this is what Sherry probably talks about with her team during the mastermind. But how do you want to work in the future, right? Because the way that we worked, Sherry and Melissa, who's not here, when we talked about this great city and how we're going to grow the cities and everything else, our views of how we were going to do that in November and December last year is different than the way that we view it now, right? Obviously. So how about you? Anybody want to jump in? How do you want to work differently in the future?
I already discussed this a little bit with Sherry. I think the idea was to not be quite as reluctant or as or I suppose half baked in whatever it is that I do, right? So if I do reach deadlines and stuff like that,
I never said you were half baked.
I thought, wow, she's hard hitting. That's amazing.
well, no, I'm just trying to find. I'm just going back through my notes and stuff like that I took throughout that call. So that was one of the things that I wrote down in my journal. So like they were just my notes, right? So I think I said something to the effect of I actually want to spend less time procrastinating on stuff like this and actually get the stuff that I need to do done and not feel quite as overwhelmed about it. So that's most of what I want to do for throughout this year. I didn't take calls for that reason last week, so I just hunkered down and I started coming up with a plan and sort of and better office hours and stuff like that. So that way they work around. So that way I can work better around them. And I could just do things more effectively, and I could actually have a bit of a structure there. That worked out quite well. I'm still figuring things out, but I'm getting closer to figuring something out.
Interesting. Okay. So was it because you had was it because you had more time to just think about it because you were on lockdown pretty much for the whole year? Is that what gave you the idea for this change, or because it's a business evolution thing?
I think it did. I think it did. And I also and it also made me think back to when I was in college and high school and stuff like that, and noticing the sort of habits that I have when I have something that's coming up. If I have a deadline that's encroaching, I used to have this tendency to kind of just leave things by the wayside, and now I'm a little bit more I'm a bit more proactive in my approach. So if a client messaged me, last week I had a client message me about something that I'm working on, and they're like, we need some help, we need your input. So I put aside everything else and I just did it instantly, right? Just to look into things and to send them my notes and stuff like that. That's kind of an example of how that's changed, because in the past, I don't think that would have, I don't know if that would have happened quite as quickly. Right.
That feels good, doesn't it?
Time. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jerry, kind of feels good that he's listening too, eh? Nice.
I love it.
That's awesome. Anybody else? How will you? How do you want to work in the future? If you have a 2-year kind of plan of how you're going to work.
I know I'm looking forward, and something's going to have to change, but my industry is going to have to change first. And then I'll be able to follow. So we have to follow guidance from WSIB. And it took them till the pandemic to say, well, maybe blended learning is a good idea, in 2020. And now one of the big questions is, how much time do you really have to spend with us? Like, can you not do some of this virtually? And I, like Christina was saying, that it's going to be the industry that's going to have to remold. And then we'll have to figure out how we can fit in that flow. But something's going to have to change. I can see myself doing virtually everything online, because there's absolutely no, in fact, I can do better one-on-one if I'm doing a Zoom rather than in a classroom with 5 or 6 people, right?
Amazing.
So yeah, I think it'll be a lot of it online.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll
Sure.
jump in then with you, Ivan. For me, I think flexibility is going to need to be the biggest thing that I'm going to need to really focus on, just depending on how things are going to move in the future. So people will have experienced now, smaller events as opposed to the, 200 people, and then discovering that maybe, wow, that's doable. And so how do we do that? So it's going to be, for me, my 3 pieces, I guess, within that flexibility is just continuing to be innovative, creative, and open-minded as I create the environment for the ceremonies for everybody, especially in that environment.
Cool. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. It's amazing how a year of shock and awe has basically changed our outlook. Sherry, I have a question because as everybody knows, Sherry is a certified business coach. She speaks to different people and how they're reacting to this. You must have a lot of feedback from businesses on how they're dealing with this. Are there any trends that you're noticing in how they're projecting for the future based on what has happened over the past 12 months?
It's kind of interesting because there's a demographic thing that really impacts that. So, for example, I live in a pretty rural community. The rural world is alive and well in the Brantford area that I live in. And I specifically am tapped into the workforce planning board here in this area through some of my work. And it's interesting because there are those businesses whose perception is we just want to get back to where we were before.
Right.
And it's kind of funny in a way. I say funny, but I guess I mean ironic, because many of them, when they were in that place that they right now are wishing they could get back to, had other ideas in mind. But right now, they would just happily get back to there. So there are those businesses. And then you've got the other ones who really have embraced the opportunity for change and transition. So there's kind of two mindsets going on, and at least that's what I'm experiencing. Many of the bigger cities, you're seeing that, but you're still seeing a smaller portion of those who are really just want to get back to the way it was before and not truly embracing the fact that we're probably never going to get back to the way we were before. And I think that depending on your industry, it matters. So Christiane's business is probably, I don't know. I think, when you think about how many people travel to go to weddings when someone in the family gets married, I think there'll be a whole lot more people who don't bother to travel. Now it's perfectly reasonable. Yeah. So I think there are pockets of people who are not really transitioning. They just want to get back to where they were before. And I think those are the businesses that are truly, truly struggling in the largest possible way. But then I look at, Catherine was already sort of looking at how do we create that blended model and can I be doing more stuff on that was already happening. We were having conversations beforehand about that. And so, for Catherine, she's able to make that transition a lot easier because she was already looking ahead to that innovation. So, I think the areas that people are really struggling with is, because it's not just one thing, there is a lot of stress and pressure on people and they're not necessarily acknowledging it. And we're now heading into this second we're halfway through a lockdown, which we can only hope might end at the end of the month. So there's a lot of businesses who are really struggling with just the toll. Let's face it, as business owners, it's already heavy as it is. Mm-hmm. Right? As an entrepreneur, it's a stressful work environment. And that is really having a toll in ways like, I don't know, I just can't seem to get motivated. And now it's that, blue season. And so that's piling on people. They're also struggling with how to be relevant online, because this is where we're spending all of our time. And it's like being in the sea of whatever, how do we make one drop of water more significant than all of the others while you're drowning? So that's another piece that I recognize businesses are really struggling with. And the opportunity though for government funding and that sort of stuff, there is a lot of that stuff happening, but it's overwhelming to get access to. So that's another. Anyways, that's just some of the things that I'm seeing in that realm.
Well, I'm noticing Michael's nodding a lot, so I'd love to hear from Michael on that. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've had to change. A lot of my meetings are now remote. In fact, right now they're all remote because we're not allowed to do in-person meetings. And I mean, let's face it, for safety reasons, we shouldn't be doing that. That does create some challenges. Like when I'm meeting one-on-one with a client, we get a little further in the process. There's some forms that have to be signed. and they're just allowing us to create a client file. There's some other disclosures and stuff that we have to give to clients. And that used to be easy. I print out the piece of paper, it's with me, I hand it across and they sign it. Now it's like, okay, some of the documents are set up for e-signature. Some of them aren't. So some of them the client has to sign. So that you have a printer, do you have a scanner? Because once you sign that document, you have to send it back to me and then I sign off on the other part of it. So there's some challenges from technology, which makes doing some things difficult. Nothing that can't and won't be overcome in time. Some of that stuff's getting better. But then I had a funny one last week. I had somebody that I set up a meeting with, and it was a meeting time, and I'm like waiting, and I'm like, okay, they're not coming in. Let's give them a call. And they're like, oh yeah, I went and I found out that I got to download an app. And I'm like, can't you just run this from your web browser? That's what most people do. No, wouldn't let me do that. I'm like, okay, well, so you're not coming to the meeting because of that, right? It's like, I mean, I really didn't have a good comeback, because when I first started using some of this technology that we've been provided with, and we use WebEx because of security. We're not allowed to use Zoom because security is just not there.
Right.
And I probably about the second or third meeting was with like an 84-year-old lady who she had her son there, but she was doing it all on her own, right? And I'm going, you know what? You're 84 years old and you're learning how to do a virtual meeting. Like that is pretty cool, right? And I'm figuring if an 84-year-old lady can do this,
Anybody can.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about inertia? Some of us, we just have this, we're just used to sitting still. And I'm not talking just sitting still, but I mean, staying in our safety zone, which is our office. We don't want to go anywhere. I mean, even to do the things that you can do safely, like go for a nice long walk or whatever, this lockdown kind of gives us not an excuse. It just seems to have this weight on you that makes you feel like you don't want to go out your door. Does anybody feel that way?
No, I actually, I'm up at 5:30. I'm out the door at 5:45. I'm home by around 7.
Wow.
And I've done my 10,000 steps.
Wow.
And I think that's actually
Cool.
one of the things for mental health is getting out of your house every day. It's pretty safe at that time of day. You don't run into a lot of people on the street. Typically in my hour and a bit out, maybe 2 or 3 people.
Wow.
When I'm doing, 8-9K of walking anyway. So
What time do you leave?
I leave at 5:45. I'm back at 7.
Okay.
I'm out of bed at 5:30, so it gives me 50 minutes to roll out of bed, get dressed, and then throw on my gloves and stuff. And no, it's absolutely, and the reason I do it that way is because I know that if I try to do it in the evening, there'll be something else that comes up. And I think it's just so important to keep that for mental health, to get out, breathe some fresh air every day. That I do that on weekdays. On the weekend, I go during the day because obviously I'm not working then. That's another thing that I've been pretty strict about is unless it's absolutely necessary, I don't work on Saturday and Sunday.
Of course.
I just don't do it.
Well, so I have a second question that I want to jump on, which is, during the past year, we've realized that there's a lot of things that we've had to do that we normally wouldn't do, or things that we would normally want to do that we can't do. What about skill deficit? Have you noticed that you've come upon a requirement, a need to do certain things on your own because you can't get together in groups, but you realize that you don't have the skills for it? And if you confronted that, what are your solutions?
I noticed that with a lot of things that I get into on a day-to-day basis, that there's a lot of things I have to research. For instance, anything that's accounting or tax related, I have to do a ton of homework on because I don't necessarily have that background, and it doesn't hurt to know more.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to that point is just a question of having something to track my expenses, having something to track my income, having something to track how much I actually owe, stuff like that, right? And then putting it all together. That has been one of the biggest concerns I had going into my business and everything else. And over time, it's become a little bit easier for me to grasp. But for everything else, yeah, totally. If it's a new programming language that I don't know, there is that. If there is some if there is some new platform I'm told, hey, go work on stuff with, there's a lot of homework that I have to do there. Like I'm always, most of my job is just learning on the job, right? So I always have to be adaptable. I always have to adapt to new jobs that come up and to sort of give myself a better leg up. And then there's like side projects and stuff, right? So yeah, totally.
Okay, anybody else?
You know what actually what Adam says is right, sort of bang on. And I mean, I went through this. I mean, I did a career change 6 years ago. And so had to learn a whole new thing. There was training, there was licenses to be written, there was all kinds of stuff. And then I stayed with that firm for just under around 4 years. And then I switched firms in 2019 in April. So now I went somewhere else and I had to learn all these systems all over again. It's a whole different shelf of products, a whole different way of doing everything. And, you know, you just have to, I mean, I'm in my 50s now. Won't be able to say that much longer, but I am.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you know,
You and me both.
to start undertaking those kind of things when you're in your 50s, you know, you're not as quick as you are when you're in your 20s and 30s. But the bottom line is what Adam said. You have to be open to learning and doing things. If you aren't open to it, you're going to be left behind. You know, like it's called survival. And part of it also is that it's fun.
What do you think about ecosystems, though? Like, what do you think about building your ecosystem? And you know, and of course, I'm a network. You know, we're building a network here, and we're talking about networking, et cetera. But think about this. I mean, Adam and I have spoken about this before. That, you know, if you find that you have a lack of knowledge because now you're doing things on your own, and you realize that you need technology that's going to help you, then, you know, then who's going to offer you the basic tech, you know, foundation and information? Maybe somebody like Thomas. You can brainstorm with him. He will brainstorm ideas with you and maybe provide solutions. You're running a website, but you find that you've learned that Google really likes content, right? Whether it's written content and you know, what other content, Catherine, am I going to mention here?
Oh, yeah.
Video, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, right. So video content, whatever it is. But what if you're not the kind of person to write stuff? Well, then you have somebody like Maggie, right? Maggie can do the writing. Or I actually heard last week, 2 people say to me, I just can't do presentations like what you're doing. Like you're so naturally getting out there and talking to people about different things. I can't. I thought, well, what about hiring somebody to kind of be the host of the meeting, an officiant, maybe you know, to officiate your meeting or whatever it is. I'm not sure if that's something that's in Christiane's, you know, list of things that she can do for business networking events, just to ask questions. People like to answer questions, but they don't. You know, it's easier for them to just respond to you than it is to come up with things on their own, right? So what I'm saying is, if you find that you have a deficit in some area, yes, you can take the time and you can find it out on your own. But what is your time worth? Is it just easier to offload some of that to somebody else who will, you know, provide you a decent rate and be able to turn it around to you pretty quick? Anybody's thoughts on that?
I was going to say, I find I did that quite a bit pre-pandemic, because you lost so much time with travel, because everything I did was travel. There was none of this, you know, 4 hours checking your skills. It was an 8-hour minimum day. But now I find myself, back to your other question, going down rabbit holes, going, oh, I've got a half an hour before that meeting. I don't have to leave and go to the washroom and get myself ready. And then you go, oh, I didn't do anything in the meetings now.
Mhm.
So I'm finding myself actually pulling away. I hope I will go back to getting people to help me do that kind of stuff, because that's how you and I met, right? And Teresa, and I have quite a few people around me that do stuff, but that was all pre-pandemic. I haven't reached out like that since pandemic started.
You know what, Catherine? I have to throw something out here because I think it's really cool that technology has just changed things. I just had an understanding here. Catherine's hired me to do a number of videos. There are videos that we shoot for her to do all kinds of things, right? But then there are some testimonial interviews that I've done. I remember driving out to Niagara Falls, right? We shot that gentleman in his office, and now I realize that that trip wasn't even necessary. If we had Zoom, hiring me to do it wasn't even necessary because you could have easily done it, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things that we can do now because of technology. As long as we realize that technology is there. Think about how much technology exists, and Catherine's probably a really good person to respond to this, or Thomas. How much technology exists that can make our lives easier and save us money if we only knew it existed?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it, right? I mean, all this stuff has always been here. Zoom was, WebEx has always been around before that, and it's become more socially acceptable. That's always an aspect with technology. It has to become socially acceptable before it can really be considered an appropriate use. Having the testimonial videos done like this pre-COVID, you might have had somebody be like, what the hell is this? Like, what do you do? You know what I mean? They wouldn't have even thought, they would have thought, not to say, and realistically, they probably would have been like, this is a joke. Like, what is this? What am I doing? Like, why am I sitting in front of a camera? I look like a fool kind of thing, right, at my home. But now, it's the only way to do it in most cases is, we're in lockdown. You can't go see this person. You can't even stand 6 feet, 20 feet, 3,500 feet away. You got to stay at the comfort of your own desks, and that's it. For a lot of technology, it doesn't matter if it's out there or not, and if people use it until it becomes widely accepted. That's the only way it really kind of comes in. I mean, people, I'm going to say this too. Wireless has been out there for how many years, and until people started, until manufacturers put it on your phone and on your tablet and the other devices, people always connected hardwired, right? So it took how long for it? Hell, the internet was around years before it became mainstream the way it has, and until people started using it the way we are now, which, well, let's face it, how many people really use it for what it's for? It's still, it wasn't, it wasn't the socially accepted way. It wasn't used for what it is, right? So that's a part that's always going to be there, I think. There has to be an acceptance of technology before it becomes mainstream or accepted or just widely used. So,
does anybody actually know why the internet was created?
Oh, it was a military thing.
Military, right?
Yeah, it was a government thing. Governments, universities. It was an emergency communications tool, so that it was something that would be independent of phones and everything else if all that went down. And yeah, when Thomas says, when people started to use it, well, the thing was, people couldn't really access it until about, I think it was 1995. I first accessed it in 92 because I was working at the university, and I can remember the first time I sent a letter, a Word document to somebody out on Long Island. And, back then it was snail mail. That was it. And I sent this document through, and the guy had it in about 4 seconds. And we were supposed to talk about what was in the document. We never ended up talking about that because we went, wow.
That was awesome.
It took 4 seconds to send this thing.
Put it in
I didn't need a
perspective.
stamp. I didn't need anything,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Like, it was like, oh my God, there'll be no more post office, like, right? Because it was a mind-blowing event when it happened that very first time. And we were like, imagine if this ever gets out into the public, because he worked at a government institution for the US government, and I was working at a university. So yeah, we both had access to it, but there was no browsing. You had this thing called Gopher, and Gopher would allow you to go from server to server, and then you could find information on these government servers, university servers, whatever. That's how you got through, but it was all typing in. If you didn't know it was there, there was no way to get there. And
Yeah.
even when we were first allowed to do web pages, one of the critical things was make sure you have some links to somewhere else on your web page, because otherwise people will get there and there'll be nowhere to go. Like they won't know where to go next because there was no Google, there was no search index, none of that existed yet. So
Yeah.
it was a really cool
I remember
time
building our first
when
web
it first
page
started.
in 1995. Thomas, you're going to say something?
No, put it in perspective. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look at the double check, but the internet back, like the government use, was created the same year I was born, in '85. So,
Yep.
Wow.
So maybe I would. That's why I'm in what I'm in. I was destined to be into it. I don't know.
No, that's right. So I have one more question, then we'll get to the needs, right? Okay, so the last question. And by the way, Angela, you there? And Angel, you around? All right. Well, when you're ready.
I am around. I am around.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question because you're in Alberta and it's different there, right? Because you guys kind of have a double whammy. You guys have an oil problem, the economy was having a difficult time before COVID, and now you have COVID. What are small businesses doing? And are you seeing that there's an increase in the amount of new businesses being generated, if you get a sense of it, because people are leaving larger businesses and starting their own businesses, or is there a swell of entrepreneurialism, do you sense?
It's hard to explain right now because a lot of the small businesses are being put out of business because they're on lockdown. So all of the major chains have been open in Alberta. It's information and none of you guys would probably know unless you're listening to the news. But for COVID, what the Alberta government has done is they closed down in the middle of November all small businesses, all restaurants, and they continued it into the end of January. So we're seeing a lot of our businesses going under. They're not surviving. They were already struggling before. They did all of the changes that were required to have masks and sanitation or sanitizer and limited hours and all these other things and restrictions that were required for COVID. And then they left the chains open and shut down all small businesses, and so hair salons and everything else.
Oh, wow. That's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah. So a lot of people already had moved online, especially for management staff, a lot of communication. In oil and gas, we were already using a lot of Zoom, a lot of online stuff, minimizing travel so that you were minimizing overhead. Also, it just makes things move a lot easier, a lot quicker. Like the traffic is on the stairs. It's not in the car from place to place in Calgary. And because oil and gas has been affected so highly by everything that's kind of going on, people are moving out of the industry, either creating new businesses, finding new ways to get by. We're effective. People will find a way, right? So, and Calgarians themselves, they stayed and they're definitely moving to small businesses. People are also branching out and providing more support to the business rather than going to the grocery store. If we know of somebody online selling some food, people will all get together and go there instead.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are your restaurants totally closed, or are they still open for takeout, or did they shut them
they're
down?
They're open for takeout.
Okay, all right.
And curbside pickup and stuff.
Yeah. So they are open for curbside pickup and takeout. But like spas, hair salons, any of those are permanently closed.
Wow. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. This COVID-19 thing is a kill. And I've heard of people kind of sneaking folks through their side door in their house and doing their hair and stuff like that. But you have to you really got to be careful. And then we all have read stories in the news of people who took a risk and then were affected by it. So small business, it's tough. But here's the last question I had was, is over delivering a bad thing? And the reason why I asked this is that a lot of businesses, their strategy for survival is over delivering. When they are hired to do something, they over deliver. Is it a long-term good strategy?
No.
No?
I'd have to say no. And I didn't catch whom said that they don't work on the weekends and they don't work Saturdays, and they refuse to do so.
That's me.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing. So I'm finding when people have moved online, we're all working from home. We don't know when to turn our computers off anymore, which some of us, I didn't before. And now we're moving into the weekend. So people feel that you are available at all times. And I think that productivity, your quality of work, and your is linked with your mental health, and you have to turn off that work. So over delivering, people just want more. The better you are at your job, the more they want you to deliver. It's not like you're going to get any better at it.
Yeah,
I don't agree.
there's never a plateau point, right? They just want to keep more, getting more, right?
Like they always say that it's that hardworking employee, all they get is more work.
Yep. Yeah, because all you do is prove that you can handle that. So, well, you know what? Well, you can handle that much. Let's give you some more.
Right.
You do that too. Well, okay. I guess you haven't reached your breaking point. So we'll just keep throwing it on that person, and
That's because you
eventually,
work
then
for somebody.
one day that person mentally loses it, and they go, Fred seemed like such a nice guy. I don't know why that happened to him.
Right?
Really? Really? That's your
Right.
answer? You don't know why?
Catherine.
Hold on. Michael, you work for somebody though, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And see, your work will still be there on Monday. My client won't be. My client will go to the person now.
Even when I was independent, I said
point,
there's a limit. There is a
is.
limit.
Don't get me wrong. What you and Angelica were saying for mental health, there's got to be, right?
Yeah.
So I'll use Ivan and Teresa as an example. I know unless the sky really is falling, Saturday is completely off limits, right?
Absolutely.
With these guys. But I have been in positions where I've got 6 clients in my class, and I'm showing them how to get onto the website that they've just joined, and I got locked out.
Yeah, and you know what, Catherine? I mean, that's the same thing. I do meetings at evenings and during the week. Like I can't,
because it's your clients.
That's right. I mean, that's when I will do things. And I mean, I ask people, do you want to meet during the day? Do you want to meet during the evening? What's better for you? And because, yeah, you have clients, and if you don't have enough clients and you're not doing enough business, guess what? It doesn't matter if you work for someone or not. You're going to be gone.
No, it's not whether you have enough clients. It's whether you want to keep your clients or not.
Yeah. So you gotta do those things. And if your client has time to meet at 7:00 at night, well, you meet at 7:00 at night. That's just the way it is.
And again, like I get people that contact me to say there's a problem with the website, and I've got very limited skill set, right? Especially Teresa's gone, oh, let me show you how to do this, right? So, okay, so I can unblock some people now. But when it's off that first layer of knowledge, and I go, sorry, this is beyond me. I have to direct it to IT. They're trying to get their quiz done tonight because guess what? They're in class tomorrow. And if Ivan and Teresa didn't respond at some point during the evening, not instantaneously, but right, I leave it with them and they get to it as soon as they can.
Yeah. Usually within 12 hours. Yeah.
Right? Like it's not one of those things. And that's what I need as a small website. Yeah. No one's coming back to me because I've got the best prices like Amazon, no matter what, Oh,
absolutely. I mean, we all have to provide those services and things.
So do you ever find that whatever service that you offer, there is some cheap knockoff that's offering to do more for not just 5 to 10% less. These guys are offering more for like a third of the price. You ever see that?
Oh yeah.
Does that shock you sometimes?
Not really anymore. Go on Kijiji, the $20 tech, any fix, anytime, anywhere, any place. They're a computer repair guy, and they'll scrub your toilet for you too.
I have to compete with the
toilet, Catherine. Right? I think we might have a cleaner for the office.
Office cleaner, yeah.
No, that's not me. That's them. Go find them on. They'll take
I
care
go
of it.
on Upwork and I find something like that where people price themselves so extremely low for like web development or job or any other kind of job, really.
There's a
So-
reason why 90% of the time I've basically stepped away from residential. I will make exceptions for customers. Networking group people within networking groups. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I make exceptions because they understand. Obviously, they're here for the same reason I am. They understand that there's cost for certain. There's a cost of doing business, right? So I have no problem. But like, you're run of the mill. Somebody walks up to me right now or shoots me an email saying, I have my computer at home. They're like, unfortunately, we don't deal with residential services. That's my reply. 1-2 sentences. That's it. I don't do it because I've given quotes. They say, well, it's too much. You know what I can do on Kijiji? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Then go
Whatever
do it.
happened
Yeah,
to
go
buyer
do it.
beware? Buyer beware.
I'll give you an example. I'm competing with robo advisors. So last week I started seeing these ads on TV. I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a girl that comes on. I just bought $50,000 of life insurance for $5 a month. There is no advisor, there's no medical, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at, I'm going,
There's no
you just
insurance
got ripped off at $5.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I was doing this quote for somebody. It was like for almost $900,000, and of term insurance. And this is going to be underwritten. There's going to be a medical. So when there's actually a claim, they're going to pay it as opposed to the $5 one where they say, well, you actually passed away from an excluded loss, so we're going to give you back your premium. But that $900,000 is like $35. So do you want $50,000 for $5, or do you want $900,000 for $35? Right?
That's buyer beware.
Well, the problem is if you don't deal with an advisor, nobody's actually doing an analysis of what you actually need. Nobody's telling you why you should buy this solution as opposed to this solution. And that's all important stuff. And, I had a client cancel a meeting last week, and the whole meeting of purpose of the meeting was the second meeting was to review what they had in place. And he goes, well, I had a discussion with my wife, and my wife and I decided that everything we have in place is good right now. But you know what? If we know somebody, we'll refer them to you. And when we're ready to get new stuff, we'll come to you. And I'm like,
Okay, so hey, folks,
You don't need those either, Mike. Let's face it. Those are the types of customers you're not going to need, because I've got customers sitting in with that same mindset.
Yep.
That I've cut loose. I've either cut loose. I've gotten in the first meeting. It's like, you're going to be a deja vu that I don't need. See ya.
and that's what I did. I sent him back an email and I said, hey, you know what? Thanks a lot for referring me. I look forward to meeting you when you're ready to, because when they're ready, then it's okay. I just hope that when they're ready, it's not because something bad's already happened, right?
Thomas, you can tell just by the first couple of words that come out of their mouth, right? And then you just go, that's really
the words. It's their body language sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I should have seen it, but again, you want to give an opportunity to grow your business. You want to take on clients. Now, for those that most of you don't know me well enough to know that I'm short fuse, big mouth, don't mind the politically incorrectness. I tend to pop off and shoot off at the hip many times. So I don't mind when I deal with people like that. I'm not the type to say, oh my God, you're offended. No, it takes a lot to offend me. So have at it. But when I see a business owner speaking like that with no recourse of the fact that it's a time and a place always, right? Mm-hmm. And usually in your office, in the middle of the office, about one of your employees who's not inside the conversation, is probably a good indication they're not going to be worthwhile customers. Took the risk anyways, blew up in my face.
Yeah, always. So folks, I just want to get some announcements out. We're almost at that time. But I want to go around the room first and ask, what are your needs? This is the week of January 12th, right? What's today? The 11th. The week of the 11th, well, still the week of the 12th, right? What do you need? I'm going to start with Adam. What do you need?
I don't know. I think the one thing I'd like to do, I would need, I guess, is I would like to help more people. I would like to help more small businesses out with their their online profile and be able to help them with their projects however I can.
What does that mean? Their online profile? What is that?
Like just improve their web presence, I should say, like their website, maybe their social media, maybe if they have an app that they're working on or something like that. Maybe if they're an e-commerce site, right? Maybe they need help with that. I think if anything else, that would be a solid start. As for anything else, I think probably just I think nothing besides just stuff that I would need to do for my own personal sake going into projects down the line to save myself time. So like reusable code snippets, stuff like that, right?
Okay. Do you have any incentives on right now, Adam, that you can tantalize people with, that they can reach out to you and?
I do consulting. There's that.
All right, so they can call you up and they can pick your brain for 20 minutes and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still some stuff I'm figuring out with that.
All right, Thomas, your needs.
Any referrals for anybody who's interested in the services we provide would be fantastic. Other than that, not much.
Hey, Thomas,
Healthy.
what do people, first timers, typically call you for?
Actually, best example I could give you right now on Facebook, I was actually tagged on a post from somebody else in one of the local networking groups. I saw the picture, and somebody, I guess, wiring issues, for example, like somebody's run data cables and everything, and it literally looks like a mess of spaghetti on a plate. It's disastrous. A lot of times we'll come in for some of the smaller stuff, cabling, wiring cleanup. Maybe it's a new construction, so they'll need wires from scratch. Those are some of the cases. Other times we'll get situations where it's small stuff. We're moving to a new office. Can you help us? What do we need to build a better network kind of thing for the new office? So we'll go in and recommend hardware upgrades for access points. Those are typically what I've come across in the past. But I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I've had somebody. I reached out to somebody, and then they started candidly opening up to me and talking to me about how they had security breaches. They've had some issues. They've had that. So I mean, I've reached, quoted to them, and and it is what it is.
Okay.
So yeah, various things, but I mean, I've come to know that a lot of times it's for this, either starting from scratch or unhappy with what's going on. Those are usually the two, I guess. If I have to filter out what usually happens, those are usually the cases that are coming to me.
Do you have any incentives on right now, Thomas?
Truthfully, incentives are almost on a situation by situation. Like
everyone right now is thinking
nothing's set,
now, right?
but I mean, I always
know, right?
So
okay, so they call you up and then you can work something out with them.
Exactly. I mean, people within the groups are always, I always help them out. Somebody who's maybe coming in right off the street, I'll be honest, they usually don't get anything right away just because I don't know how it's going to work out. You don't know what the relationship's going to be, right? I mean, there's some longevity and there's a relationship built, maybe down the road something's taken care of. But I've never want, because you can't, every situation is different. So to say, this, I do this and that, I'll always take care of everybody though. Like I've never been one to shy away from that.
That's why you're such a great guy. I love you, man. Okay, Catherine,
love you
what do you need?
I wanted to make a comment that kind of felt a couple things with Thomas. The IT company that you had come in that had to straighten out all our lines for the office?
Here?
That guy talk about over-serving. I have two towers and a VoIP, and I only had one computer that I was working at the time, and he had it hooked up. As I went around to hook everything else up, they were already hooked up. He connected everything for me. I just had to turn it on. And that was like, oh, I don't have to crawl around on the floor. This is awesome. So talk about service if you're ever talking to them again. But anyway, so I would like to get clients who require fit testing. Fit testing is for masks that are required for work. Like you see all the hospital staff that have to wear those N95s. So anything that's a half mask, whether it's the N95s or you've seen the ones that they wear with the big cartridges on the side, but it's half mask fitting that we do. For me, mostly it's going to be like the dental professional, right? The dentist office, the hygienist, because they can work independently as well. Those kind of folks. And for new fit testings, we are giving a 10% discount.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, great. Maggie, your needs.
Besides tea and breakfast,
I hear you, Maggie.
yes, basically referrals. Anyone who needs good writing, the content, refer them to me. That's basically what I need. So
Okay, any incentives on right now, Maggie?
no, other than whatever I put down. I think it was 10% off for this great city.
For this great city? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
other than that, not really at this point. So
Okay, Angel, are you there? What do you need besides babysitter and a bottle of wine?
Besides somebody to make lunches. I don't need anything right now. I'm just sussing everything out and taking a look at the market and figuring out how to get myself out of oil and gas and into something else more sustainable and friendlier to lifestyles.
Alberta, yeah, I hear you. Well, I think that I do miss it out there. I can't see. It's such an entrepreneur. Has anybody here been to Alberta?
yeah.
I lived in Edmonton.
Oh, you did?
Nice
I'm just
country.
Yeah, it's really cold up there. But anyway,
Very.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was February the first time, January or February the first time I went. But it was for, I did not go for vacation. It was for a fatality inquiry.
yeah. Well, it's such an amazing entrepreneurial vibe out there. You
Yeah.
definitely feel it when you're there.
Wild West.
That's awesome. Okay, Christiane, your name.
Hey, thank you, Ivan. And thank you, everybody, because I got some good nuggets from this morning. And as a result of that, my need, I guess, or where I want to go is I need to put some creative thought to testimonial videos, especially for the MC side of my business.
Beautiful.
That's my takeaway for this week.
Excellent. Now, for what you're doing, do you have any incentives on right now?
No, it doesn't quite work like that. Incentives aren't,
Kind of thing.
Again, I think it was a bit like either it was Thomas that was saying, it depends on a one-on-one, but when we want to get into incentives, that could be a whole other program, I think, in itself. I think that's where I've learned to be very careful, because when we're talking about, over delivering or doing more, oh gosh, how do you word that? Is what I've somewhat experienced is the more you want to add on or the more you want to give, actually, the more demanding it becomes at the other end. And so I've kind of, this is what I have. This is how I do it and why I do it. Can someone else do it for less? Absolutely. It's up to me to tell them, to show the difference between the two. You get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
The pudding,
And
you don't
so
want to give anything for nothing.
Pardon me, Thomas?
Well,
Sorry.
the proof is in the pudding, which is what you do, and then you don't want to give everything away for nothing, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
it's, yeah.
All right, Michael.
All right. Well, I'm always looking to meet new people. If you or somebody you know, you might think might need my services, I'd love to sit down with them. First meeting I sit down, it's really a get to know you meeting, find out a little bit about them. They find out a little bit about me. And if we can work together, then we schedule something beyond that. So I'm very low pressure that way. Even if you aren't interested, but you think you might know anybody, schedule a meeting with me and do the introductory session, because that's something really great. And if you do have stuff in place, and whoever your advisor was, sometimes they've left the business and you just have this stuff and you're not sure what you have is still current. I always review that stuff. That's a no charge thing. We'll see what you have in place, and if there's things that should be updated and changed, I can recommend that. Or if it's good, well, then terrific, it's good. Sometimes people do have things in place. They've made sure that things are properly done, and then I tell them that. And
Michael, it sometimes strikes me that if we know somebody who's who's they're having, a couple that's having a baby or something like that, it's a good thing for them to identify whether they have something in place, because it's probably a good time to start, right?
All babies, weddings,
Mhm.
because that's when people are joining together and they're, usually starting to build that life. You've just bought a house, or you're about to buy a house. Now you've taken on a big debt load. If something happens to somebody, what's going to happen? Is the other person going to be able to stay in the house? How can I help you stay in the house and make sure that, you can still put food on your table and education for your children, all those kind of things. So those are big life events. And even when I have my first meeting, that's one thing I say to people. I say, listen, I like to meet with you once a year at least. But if something happens through the year, big life event, call me. We'll get together, and if we got to change things, we'll change things.
I can't imagine anybody more comfortable to sit down with, Michael, than you. So definitely, folks, keep that in mind. Teresa, do you have a want this week? And please don't tell me to fix the thing in the kitchen, because
It ain't gonna happen anyway.
That's all you.
I take it down on the bottom of the list. Is that what you're saying?
right after visit Granddad's Donuts and pick up a thing of chocolate eclairs.
That should be really high on the list, Ivan.
Yeah, I was going to say
Especially
that
the
might be
walnut
higher up.
crunches. That should be like right up there.
I know it. So Kevin happens to buy that thing every single day. Anyway, go ahead, Teresa. What do you got?
So I'll take so any referrals, obviously, for anything social or web development section. I'd like to kind of be more in the social realm at the moment, just because it's a little easier, especially with people being online. And also for this great city, any referrals that anybody has for a business, or even just consumers kind of getting on and checking out what this great city is about. Obviously, we're about relationships, we're building relationships, we're, mentoring those relationships and trying to keep everybody as social as possible in a very non-social physical way at the moment. But, we're here for those people who just need a little bit more social interaction, and the businesses that need that social interaction. All
right. Well, that sounds good. That brings me to the announcements, folks, before we wrap up. How's my time going? Woo, mamacita. I'm okay. I'm over by 6 minutes. You guys have to forgive me. Here we go. Real quick. So this week, Wednesday night, folks, please, if you're in the Hamilton area and you'd like to help out and donate food to the food bank, that's the Community Services Food Bank on Concession Street there at our church. That you can drive your stuff over. I'm going to be there. We're dropping some things off on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So please be there. 284 Concession Street at 6 p.m. Any food stuff. By the way, Wednesday night they're open. So at 6 o'clock, we just put up to the side door and we can drop things off and they'll take it. They have a lineup that will start about 6 o'clock for people picking up food. So if you have any, as you can imagine, it's been there are a lot more people now that require the service. So anything that you can do, please join us Wednesday night, 6 p.m., 284 Concession Street at the Hamilton Mountain Adventist Church. And you'll see my car there, and then we can drop the stuff off. Second thing is, we have Investing 2021 coming up on Wednesday night at 8:30. Folks, what a great discussion last week. Christiane, were you on that one?
No, I wasn't. I meant to.
Yeah, okay. No problem. No, it was,
but I need to do it this week. So say again when it is.
Yeah, it's Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. This week, listen, we're going to be chatting about something that came up before the holidays, which is creating an investment club that we talked about. Listen, we're just going to flesh out a few things about it before we do that, but it is something that we're going to partner with the TD Bank on and create an investment club, which would be really kind of cool. So if you're interested in that, jump on that call. There are let's see, consumers, yes. So consumers, listen, consumers are free. Tell all your friends to sign up. We're actually giving away an incentive starting on the 20th of January until the end of February. We're giving away another tablet. So get people to sign up, go online, go on the website, sign up as a consumer. It is free. Basically, at the bottom of the home page, it will say join as a citizen, and basically they'll get our newsletters and everything else, but they also are the ones that are looking to interact with businesses. As you know, our network are not just about businesses interacting with businesses. Believe it or not, there are actually businesses out there that don't just deal with other businesses, they deal with consumers. So we want to draw consumers into the mix so that we're unique in that. There is no other network out there that I know of anyway that has both consumers and businesses involved. So we really want to strengthen the base of consumers that we can bring on board, right? So definitely tell your friends, right? Tell your family members and your colleagues, okay, and anybody else you can think of. Don't tell your enemies. Okay, the last thing is coupons. So as you know, if you are a business member or an auxiliary member or higher, you get the auxiliary gets everything, but the business members get a photo gallery, right? We are turning it on that anybody who signs on at the business member level also gets coupons. Coupons are great. They're going to be on the home page, so the people that show up on the homepage, you'll see the local coupons that are available for local businesses, so they can hopefully drive more traffic to businesses. And the last thing is, we've added statistics to the membership, so you can go into your membership, log in, and you can see the number of people that have actually viewed your profile, the number of people who've actually clicked on your link, and the number of people who have clicked on your phone number. So that you're getting an idea as to what type of return you're getting or traffic you're getting through the system. So that's on there right now. Please enjoy. We're working right now on also adding a news feed, a little bit like Facebook. Okay, so we're just working on that right now. We're just fleshing out a few things, but once that's done, then hopefully in about 2 weeks or so, the news feed will be ready to rock and roll. And then you won't need Facebook. Just be on this great city. That's it, right? Anyway, so there you go. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining the call today. 2021 is going to rock. So I'll see you guys again. I'll see you on Wednesday. Oh, and of course, Thursday, of course, is Tech Talk with Catherine Davies. And of course, Thursday afternoon for members only, we have the sales training call. And that we start a new series on really drilling down on your sales strategy. All right. So great. Thank you guys. Have an awesome week.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.
All right.
Don't forget to cut and paste before you